Welcome back to another episode of the Sky Society podcast. Today, I am very excited to be chatting with Alexis Clayton. She is the social media manager and partner program liaison for Dog Pound. Welcome, Alexis.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on. Very excited to dive into your career journey today. But before we do all of that fun stuff, can you share a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so as you said, I am Alexis. I am the social media manager and partner program liaison at Dog Pound. And pretty much if you think of anything that has to do with social media, I do it. I work with creating content, that's shooting, editing, data archiving, run all of our social platforms, organize our social calendar, direct video and photo shoots, uh, some graphic design, work with our brand partnerships on collaborations like deliverables, events, etc. Yeah.
Amazing. So everything social, I definitely want to go into kind of with having so much experience in social. I'm sure it's changed so much and you've gotten to see that firsthand. But before we dive into all of that, for those who aren't familiar with Dog Pound, can you share a little bit about what Dog Pound is?
Yeah, the best way I describe it is a celebrity gym. We are pretty much exclusively personal training. We also do a few group classes throughout the week. We have locations in New York, LA, and Miami now, which is very exciting. Um, and yeah, that's pretty
Yes.
much it.
I mean, for anyone in my age demographic, I heard a lot about Dog Pound when it was like when Victoria's Secret was back in its heyday, and a lot of the Victoria's Secret angels were always training at Dog Pound. And this is back when it was really popular for, I know it's not as popular now, but it was really popular for celebrities and models and stuff to share where they were working out. And pretty much everybody was always saying Dog Pound. That was like the place. I remember watching YouTube videos about Dog Pound and just like hearing all about it, being like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Which is awesome just to kind of see the niche that you guys have been able to really tap into and really create something unique. So we're gonna come back to kind of what you're doing there at Dog Pound because I know you're doing some really fun stuff with partnerships and events. I kind of wanna go back a little bit and talk about how you got here because your role is so fun and so cool. But I always love kind of, which I shared before, just kind of talking about how you got there and what you learned along the way. So if we can kind of go back, I know you moved here to LA to kind of really progress and grow in your career. So can you tell me kind of about that transition and your start kind of working in LA at Y7 Studio?
Yeah, so I have a fairly interesting journey, I would say. I majored in acting. I got a BFA in acting at Elon University and a minor in psychology. I moved out here 7.5 years ago. And then I started working, obviously, as a side job because you have to have work in between in the fitness industry at Y7. I was working at the front desk there. And then when Rumble was like coming out here and opening their first LA studio, I decided I was going to like make that jump and go there and help open that studio. And then I was working there for maybe like 3 months and then moved into the position of social media coordinator. After that, I was doing that for like a really long time. The pandemic hit, and then everybody obviously like got laid off. Our team dwindled down to just head of marketing. Um, During the pandemic, I was doing a few sort of like contract positions, like remote stuff for a few exciting things, like one VR fitness company, which was very exciting and very different for me. But then I realized if I don't go back and work in person, like I'm never going to at this point, and living alone during the pandemic, that kind of like socialization was very important to me. So I asked my friends who I knew from Rumble who made the transition over to Dog Pound if they had any openings. And they said yes. Um, they didn't have anything on the social team at the moment, but there was going to be some room to grow. And so I actually kind of like took a downgrade at the time and went back and working customer service, and then worked my way up, started doing social media again on a team, and then became social media manager and now run that team. Um, yeah, so it's very exciting
That is
transition.
incredible. I have 100 questions I want to ask you just off of
Yeah,
that little blurb of a story.
of course.
I want to go back to kind of what you mentioned about having a degree in acting real quick. So was your dream to become an actor? Was that the goal?
I am still pursuing that, which I
Amazing.
think like social media is a great way to do that. It's like flexible as well as it allows like such a creative outlet too. Especially in terms of like shooting video, editing video. It allows me to be on that side of everything. And then also like directing projects as well has been really great for me on that side.
Yeah, and I'm sure with the experience you're learning and getting in your role as well, I'm sure
Yeah.
translates over. How is it doing both of having a whole marketing career and then also pursuing this passion of yours, acting? Are you just always booked and busy and just always running around to different things, or kind of what does that look like for you?
Yeah, definitely. I would say. I mean, I work like 8, 9 hours a day with Dog Pound, and then I'll come home and do an audition, or like I'll wake up super early, do an audition, and then get my day started. Yeah, it's kind
And
of crazy, but I love it.
I love that too, and it is crazy, but it's crazy in the best way because you're pursuing what you actually love. And I think and I love hearing that, and I love hearing when guests have different things that they're passionate about, and their career can definitely be something that's super important in their life and that they really love. And they can still love something else outside of that. It doesn't have to just be like, okay, if I love my job, then I'm not going to go pursue these other things. And so I love that you're doing that as well. I'm also just curious. So I grew up near LA. I had one of my cousins was very, very in acting. I grew up going to like all of her different, she studied acting film school. So I grew up going to all of her different shows and everything. But one thing that her experience was that it is so hard. Like it is so competitive in LA, and I can only imagine just the amount of effort that it takes to do what you're doing. And so has that like built grit for you, or has like pursuing this side passion that is so hard, how has that, do you think, translated into kind of who you are now, or kind of what you bring to your job as well?
Absolutely. I think growing up, especially like in school for acting, like in college, there's like this whole premise of like they'll break you down to build you back up.
Yeah.
Um, and I think one of like the greatest lessons I ever learned throughout, my studies was being able to take direction. So, and not seeing it as a critique on myself, but seeing it as a lesson to grow. And I take that into like everything that I do.
Mm.
So I am able to like get feedback, and or like somebody brings an idea and I'm like, okay, what can we do to accomplish this? How can we get to this place, or get to this vision that you're bringing to me, and like start looking at the logistics in that way. Because I think when you work in a creative space, and I think that social media is a creative space, people have a lot of ideas, and then needing to rein in sort of, okay, now let's execute. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah.
That's a really good point, and that's very interesting just to kind of see you pursuing both at the same time. Um, I'm excited. Wow. Now, who knows? And I listen to this episode a few years from now, then we'll know Alexis Clayton from starring in a show that we know and love, I'm sure. Okay, Alexis. So you get this degree in acting. and so is that what initially prompted your move to LA?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
So moving to LA, you're pursuing this, but also I think maybe the practical side, and also you found something that you love too. So you're doing that for your career. You're starting to kind of really grow within this fitness, health, wellness type of space, right? Starting from Y7 and then going to Rumble. I know you said you worked for like an AI health or fitness company and then to Dog Pound. So, what about this industry really intrigues you, or kind of why do you think this is where your career blossomed?
I think the people and being in a space that really celebrates women and diversity and different stories and people's journey in fitness. I've always been passionate about fitness. And I think working for other companies, I had seen sort of how people um, kept, they just wanted to market what sold. And sometimes people sell the not realistic, the unachievable, the aspirational, but not the inspirational, if
Mm.
that makes sense. Um, and the stories and the people at Dog Pound are really incredible, and the community is amazing. And working with people on the partner program and just clients in general, and hearing their stories, and even people thinking like, oh, well, it's all celebrities. Like, can a normal person go there? Yes, absolutely. It is normal people. There are celebrities that are known to have gone there, but and go there, but it's also the day to day. There are regular people going there um, and training, and people saying like, this has changed my life. Um, and I wouldn't be here without this. And those kinds of things are like super impactful.
Yeah, you're giving me chills just saying that because one thing that I always teach with girls when they're starting their careers is kind of what makes a job fulfilling. And I think sometimes it's like, oh, or one of the big pillars is that you feel like your work is helping people, and that really helps us as humans really enjoy our work because we feel like we're helping others. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to work at a nonprofit to be able to do that. You can work at a business like what you're doing right now, where the product that you are selling and that you are working on every single day, I think it makes you so much more motivated when you know that it's having like real change in people's lives. And I think, like you said, like getting to hear those stories from clients that feel like this has really transformed their life or even saved their life, which I know fitness can absolutely do. I've definitely leaned on it in difficult times in my life. I think is really beautiful. And I think something to look for if you are feeling stuck in whatever industry you are is that okay, maybe making a pivot like that can be more motivating.
Absolutely. And I think, yeah, for what you're saying, and it doesn't have to be that you're necessarily changing somebody's life, but
Mm.
being passionate about
Yeah.
whatever product you are selling and like being excited about it regardless. And feeling excited about whatever you're editing, whatever you're putting out there.
Yeah.
I'll edit things and I'll think like, wow, I love this. Like this gets me really like pumped up when I'm like watching this that I've done. So that's a key part as well.
So I want to go back and talk about this switch you made over to Dog Pound because you took a title decrease, right? So you were doing social media before, and then you took a big chance to take this opportunity. Your role was client services associate. Then you got promoted to social media strategist, and then now you're the social media manager. So a really incredible growth progression in just 3 years, which is also incredible. But what was it like taking that, being like, okay, I'm going to take this risk, or kind of what made you confident in that risk, or what was your headspace at that time?
I think the pandemic just kind of affected people in different ways. And, isolation was very isolating. And not, it really came down to needing that kind of connection, needing that socialization. Um, and I think a lot of us, as we get older, we find connection um, in the places that we work, in the places that we're frequent, like in the place we're frequently going to. So whether that is like you're going to the gym, so you're constantly around the same kind of people and building a community there, or like you're going to work and those are your people at that place. I think that was a huge drive for me. Also, a lot of people weren't getting a lot of jobs at that point. Um, so I took a risk and it did end up paying off. I think one of the key things also is just really working hard and going above and beyond, um, and pushing yourself to kind of like prove what you can do, because 9 times out of 10 people will, especially companies, will respect loyalty, and will respect hard work over anything else.
And is that how you showed them, or how did you make? So you took this role as client service associate and you knew, okay, I want to be on the social team. How did you make that happen? Were you slowly like doing some social projects? Were you being really vocal about it with the team, or how did you officially make that transition? Because I also know sometimes people will take a risk like you did and then not end up in that marketing role that they wanted. So how did you make sure that that happened for you?
So I was in a unique position where some of the people who worked at the company and brought me in, they knew me from Rumble and they knew me doing social media there. So they had confidence in me that if some space opened up, they'd be able to like vouch for me. Um, I also, though, was going above and beyond in my current position. So showing that no matter what the task is, no matter what is being asked of me, um, I will meet, not only meet expectations, but exceed them. Um, and I think that gives people confidence to give you more, uh, responsibility and a new position. And that was like a huge turning point. Obviously, I had experience. So when an opportunity arose, that was kind of a no-brainer. But yeah,
I mean, I would argue that it's not a no-brainer because I think I mean, if you would have just taken that client services associate role and just been like, ah, like this isn't what I want to do. I'm not going to try. I'm sure my friends are going to get me in when like the time comes. Like you didn't approach it that way. I love your example of like, even though this wasn't exactly what I wanted to do, I did every single task and I exceeded expectations, and you approached it with a lot of care and passion, and really showing them what you could deliver, when they did eventually give you that promotion into the social media role. And I think that's really great advice for someone who is in a role right now where they may not want to be there, but you can kind of show your work ethic and show what you're capable of, even if it's not exactly in the type of work that you want to do, which I think is exactly what you did.
definitely. And I think it's always like important to ask if there's room to grow, because I did check in periodically, like, is there an opportunity now? How about now? What about
Mhm.
now? And then there was. So I think if you're doing the work and being vocal, um, those are kind of like the key things in my mind
Mhm.
about that transition.
So, what is it like now that you are the social media manager doing social for Dog Pound, and kind of what are some of the things you've learned now, having done social media for several years now? What have you learned, and kind of what do you love about your social media role now?
Yeah. I have learned a lot. I think like trial and error is key. Testing different things that work, testing things that don't work. I think one of the biggest things is the social media platforms, like algorithms change constantly. They will, it's also important to understand like and hear the feedback you might get in person or you might be getting from clients or your followers sending messages being like, I love this. If you're not like seeing an exact uh numbers that you're wanting to see, because I think things are changing currently in that social realm. Um, and it's just like kind of an adjustment period for everything, but also there's like time to make exciting things, to try new things, to see what works, to see what sticks. Um, and yeah, I think like some of the things that I'm super excited about, I love working with our brand partners. Um, we've been working with Celsius for the last year, and that's been super exciting. We've shot a couple campaigns with them, and that was really fun to work on and kind of help like creative direct in those, work with some really incredible videographers. Um, we also were working with Lulu last year with back when they still had the mirror and Lululemon Studio. We still work with them in terms of apparel, and we also shot some like really incredible stuff there that I helped direct that shoot. And that's the kind of stuff that like gets me very excited. Being able to help organize that and put a vision into effect. Um, I think that's probably the like entertainment industry in me.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah.
So what those partnerships are, I think, all incredible partners to be working with. And I'm curious now because you mentioned this creative direction a couple times, and when you say it, you always smile, and so I can tell that it's something that you really love. So what goes into that? So you mentioned, okay, we're doing a partnership. We can do the Lululemon mirror, for example, and you're the one that's in charge of creative directing the shoot. How do you execute that successfully? And do you have any advice for someone that's maybe starting to do that in their marketing role, and how they could be better at it as well?
Yeah. So we were doing a new launch of apparel during all of that. And uh, I had been speaking with a videographer. He goes by Burnsy. I'll just give him a shout out. And then he is honestly really incredible, but I knew I wanted to work with him. And so kind of getting together trainers, scheduling that, picking the outfits, also putting together a vision and like a storyboard of like what this was going to look like, what the story was going to be told in this video, and kind of like the overall theme, the overall feeling behind it all. And I think those are the things to keep in mind, to really focus on. And he and I met several times, talked about it, talked about like how to shoot in the space, each individual person and what that's going to look like, their different like segment, their different specialty, what we might be shooting specifically for them to highlight them and the apparel. And then being able to see like that all come to life and him, you know, take it and go with it and then edit it. And that was great.
Yeah, getting to see what your vision was for it, then be brought to life. I can only imagine is super exciting. I always get that feeling whenever we design something here for Sky Society, and then seeing people interact with it, or I'm sure seeing people engage with it online is just, um, it's so motivating, and it's so fun to do. I'm also curious, you mentioned video, like, I mean, obviously you worked with a very special videographer for that campaign, but looking at Dog Pound's Instagram, well, first you have they have about 500,000 followers. Most of your content is now Reels. I'm curious, is that something that you guys have always done? Is that a shift that you made because of TikTok and kind of the algorithms changing? Or what is your intention or goal there?
I think we've definitely been doing reels and videos for a long time. It was kind of something the company has been doing since before I came on. Um, and I know that it is something that our viewers like to see. People like to see the different kinds of workouts and clientele in the space. I think more so recently, we've been experimenting with some different options. Um, whether it's a carousel or it's a still photo, um, broken up in there. I do think we have a unique way of marketing as opposed to different companies because we market a lot of word of mouth and we market a lot of uh, you know, personal interaction, whether that is through social or just out in the world. Um, we want it to feel authentic. We want it to feel like you're having that personal connection. So we reflect that in what we put out there as well.
Mhm. Yeah, it's interesting just kind of saying that. And I think I remember that you guys have been doing that for a while. And now obviously a lot of brands are switching to trying to incorporate more reels because TikTok kind of switched up the game with what content performs best. And I think you guys do a really good job of executing that really well.
Yeah.
Okay, the last thing I really want to touch on with your role here at DocCon is I know you mentioned that you do events, and that's something that you also are really excited about working on. Can you share kind of any events or maybe your favorite event that you've helped put on and how those kind of go into building building Dog Pound's brand?
Yeah. So obviously, there are other people that help execute the events. I help run from the social media side of it all, and helping capture the content and working with the other partners at it and collaborating on that. I would say some of my favorite ones every year we do Pride in both New York and LA, and that is one of my favorites. Um, it's such great energy. We bring in um, a bunch of local partners. We had Celsius at this last one, obviously. The energy is just unmatched. The community is wonderful. Um, it's for a great cause. And I would say those are my favorites. And then we also, this past year, just went to Art Basel with Celsius and a few other partners, also Smart Water. Um, and that was very exciting. It was like a really long planning process that a lot of women on our team, our PR marketing head, Vanessa, she really kind of like spearheaded and it came out really wonderful.
That's super fun. It's cool just seeing, or I've really enjoyed how more brands are starting to do these mutual beneficial partnerships. I mean, one that's we're always seeing all the time is how Air One has kind of leveraged that. And just hearing the partners that you are working with, they sound just by you naming them off very aligned with Dog Pound. And I think it's such a I'm sure they're fun when you get to work on them and you get to work with other teams and then also getting to do the social side. And like you said, the energy that events bring, I think is something super special.
Yeah.
Okay, Alexis. It has been so much fun kind of going through your history and seeing what you've learned throughout your career and just bonus points to you for being able to build this incredible career on top of also pursuing acting, which I'm sure just takes up so much time and is so hard. And so it's really incredible to see everything that you've accomplished. And I'm can't wait to see what is next for you. But my last question is, what advice do you have for other women that are looking to potentially have a career like yours?
I would say just work hard and try new things. Anytime like you're interested in how something might work or you're interested in learning a new skill, uh, try it, try it out, because you'll only get better at it.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Alexis, for coming on the podcast. This has been so much fun, and I appreciate you giving me some of your time today.
Yeah, thank you so much.